Hey guys, this is Seth Lail. I'm sure many of you know that. He is the director of youth here. Is that the official?
It's something like that. Director of like student ministries.
Student ministries, there we go. I should know. He has easily replaced me, and I think I'm in his shadow now. But I had a few questions for Seth. I know you've been caught up really in your first year of running youth, and so there's a lot of new things to learn and hurdles you've probably never faced before. And so just want to ask you, how's the first year of youth going?
In a word, fast. Like, it's all just flying by. Like, it doesn't feel like we're in April now. Like, it feels like we're still in August or September. And so it's just been a lot of like just time flying by and figuring out, the things and learning what you don't know and writing down ways to adjust for next year. But no, it's been a lot of fun. It's crazy that it's almost been a full year now.
Sure, yeah. Was there anything you didn't anticipate first year in?
Anything I didn't anticipate? I think the amount of things that happen in the springtime specifically, like I thought fall was going to be busier, and then we get to spring and it's like, all right, like confirmation, camp, fundraisers, graduations, like all the things kind of youth Sunday, all the things kind of happening in like a 3-month span.
Sure.
Was not expecting that many things to happen. And
and it's one of those like you don't know till you don't know sort of things. Yeah. Okay, so you've got a year tucked under your belt, and I've always said, really, when you start a new ministry, even as I've started my own new ministry, you really don't get the ball rolling till almost after year 2. Mm-hmm. So if you feel overwhelmed, it's okay. That's a natural part of it. After about 1.5 to 2 years, you start to see the things that you've been implementing and living out kind of come to fruition. And so that's the fun part, is like, oh, I see all this work that I've been putting in is finally playing out. But what's really your favorite part of youth ministry?
Okay, it's the corny answer, but it's like the true answer, right? It's like it's being with like the students and just watching them like build friendships with each other, with their leaders, watching them grow, just how they change over the course of a school year, especially at different life stages. Like the way a 6th grader changes over a school year is much different than like how the seniors change. Yeah. And so but the group as a whole, it's been cool to watch them kind of like the way I think and the way they think start to kind of line up more and more. Like early on, like I ask a lot of questions, and early on I think they were just kind of like, huh? Like what is this? Like,
sure.
And then whereas now like I'll ask a question and then they're all like, oh, okay, like ready to answer it. Like half the group feels like wants to answer now. And so it's like, I think they understand kind of what I'm looking for more.
Yeah.
And so it's a small version of what you were just talking about, right? Like by year 3, like what that'll look like.
Sure.
Seeing like a small version of that over the last like however many months it's been.
And depending when you guys have last seen a youth group run, one of the things Seth does really well is it's hyper interactive. So there's a lot of questions being asked, rather than kind of like the didactic way of just one teacher teaching. And I did a hybrid of the two, but I was probably more of a didactic teacher in that sense. But if you've not gotten to see this, we're gonna one of these days record kind of a snippet of it and give you guys a taste of what Seth is doing there, because it's incredible. Part of the reason for the interactivity is we want really students to own their faith, and so Seth, through prayer and through his team, has really kind of landed on like, well, the way that we do that is us being a part of the conversation. You really had your start in Person of Jesus studies with Brian Morgan. Yeah. Okay, so you got 1 year tucked under your belt. You're really kind of still in the learning phase in a lot of these ways. What are some like hurdles so maybe less on the we need leaders or like kind of the more pragmatic things, but what are the hurdles you see in youth culture right now? Many of our watchers might not know things teenagers are dealing with. And so I think coming from you, it would mean a lot if you could highlight some of their struggles or some of the, I'm trying to get here with them, but I'm getting, pushback from this direction. Yeah. What do you see going on with youth?
I think it's two things, and they're kind of intertwined, right? Like you and I've had plenty of conversations about how prevalent like apathy is in culture as a whole, but it's really like, I think grabbed hold of the youth specifically. And then I think a large amount of it is like overexposure, just with like culture in general. Like they have access to everything at any given moment, like whether it's news or whatever else it is that they're looking for. Like they have access to the entire world.
Sure.
And so when you have access to everything, nothing is interesting anymore because you have it all at palm of your hands.
Yeah. And I think I would imagine the hard part is my generation, millennials, got a taste of this growing up, but we didn't know where it would lead to. We didn't know the good or the bad that could come out of it. And so unfortunately, I think your generation and beyond is experiencing the burnout, anxiety of those things. And so part of it is like, as a parent, how do I even know to watch out for or protect my child from if I've never experienced it before? And so really, my heart goes out to the parents to say, this is the first time we're really experiencing something like this. But yeah, would you say we're in a place where we need to ring the bells to go like, hey, this is really crushing our students and really damaging them in maybe more ways than we thought?
I think so. Like it's one of those things where it's almost like it's kind of like it's a carbon monoxide in a way, where it's like it's there, but like you don't realize it. Like you can't smell it. And so, but then it just shows up. By the time you notice it, like it's kind of grabbed root in like the students, to where like, yeah, like we'll do things and they're just like, oh, whatever, like I'm not interested. It starts out as like, no, I don't feel like doing that today, and then kind of turns into this like, oh, I don't really want to do anything anymore.
Yeah. All right, so there's always really hope in Christ, and this is something that, because it's cultural, it's gonna be really hard to battle against, but we know the Holy Spirit can give us the capacity to do that. But yeah, what do we do? What's is there some way to combat this? Is there some way in youth you guys are already kind of attacking this problem, or?
Yeah, so in youth, we have kind of like three main ways that we're kind of going at it. We talked about Person of Jesus a second ago. We do a lot of that in youth. And I think what it highlights really well is it really does like zoom in on like the beauty of Jesus and what he looks like as a person. Like, and I think it's hard not to feel something when you're looking at just at Jesus, right? Like we did one this last Wednesday where we were talking about when he gets arrested in the garden and how like he has his enemies are launching a bunch of things at him, his friends are launching a bunch of different things at him. He has all these different things kind of happening at once. He's about to go die, but then just how he responds with love to the entire situation. Like he heals his enemies, he heals his friends, like the whole situation. And like it's hard not to feel something, I think, when you're looking at that. And then also like you said, we ask a lot of questions, and so it creates that ownership to where it's like it slows them down, because I think some of the overexposure is like how fast-paced like society and life moves right now. Yeah. Like social media, you refresh and there's a whole new thing to look at. And so through questions, we're slowing them down. We're kind of saying like, okay, like let's really sit on this and think.
Yeah.
And so it kind of creates like this feeling where you're really sitting on what it is and the weight of the thing you're thinking about. Then the last one is we give them a lot of kind of like weekly challenges in small groups each week. So each week in small groups, I write out some questions, and then we write down like kind of like a weekly mission of like, hey, like this week, like here's what we want to aim at. Like let's try and do this thing this week. And it creates ownership of like, okay, we're either going to do the thing or not. For every decision you make, you're owning that decision. And like, can we follow through with the thing that we've been challenged for? Like it creates this, we're either doing it or we don't thing. There's no way to be like neutral to it.
Yeah. I think that's smart. I think what you're highlighting is often church can be viewed as a place where I'm learning a thing, so it's educational, and there's certainly something to that, but it's more about experiencing Jesus for who he is, and then going, how then do I mimic the model that Jesus has set? And so some of the challenges you're throwing out there are asking the students to step out in faith, which chisels away at the apathy, right? And so it's like, if this doesn't, in some ways, if this doesn't play out in real life, then it isn't real, right? Faith can become this secret thing in my head, but what we see with Jesus is it always plays out in action. And so you're trying to really get students to see that, embrace Christ, and then go do something. So I love that.
Yeah, it's cool to see like them come back the next week and we ask like, hey, how'd it go? like we talk a lot about loving enemies, and so we'll challenge them like, hey, like who's someone that you can move towards maybe that no one else wants to, like is kind of repulsive to everyone else, who can you move towards in a loving way? And then they'll come back the next week and be like, oh yeah, like I did it, and like here's what happened. And so it becomes like this real thing that they're a part of, as opposed to like what you were saying, something that they just sit and listen to. Like, no, this is a thing I do, not a thing I listen to.
This is who I'm becoming. Yeah, that's awesome. Seth, last question. If you could encourage our parents of the youth with anything, what would you like to tell them?
I think just how important it is to be patient. And like, right, it's such a difficult time right now, and just all the different things that they have happening, especially in different stages, right? Some of our students are like applying to colleges, getting in, trying to make decisions, or they have things happening at school or on sports teams or whatever else, and it's really easy to get kind of caught up in the whirlwind of that. Yeah. And so like just like the importance to like, okay, like to slow down, like be patient with them. And like we talked a lot about asking them questions is great. Like they're dying to tell people things, and right, like how often like do they go to school and their opinions asked for but not really? It's more like I'm looking for this definitive answer, not like what do you really think. And so like just the importance of like asking our students questions and hearing what they have to say, because they want to share it. They're just looking for someone to hear it.
Yeah, and there's something about having extra voices in their lives that they might open up in a different way. But I think you're right. I think asking good questions, right? So if I say, how's your day? You've probably heard that a million times, and we all have these like pre-programmed responses, instead to be like, what was the greatest part of your day? Or what was your biggest struggle today? Or what did you see Jesus in your friends or at your sport, or, playing, an instrument or whatever. I think those prompt better answers, so that would be my encouragement. But Seth, I appreciate you. We know it's just year one, so God's going to continue doing awesome things through you. I love your heart, man. And I'm so glad genuinely you're here with us doing this. And guys, I ask that you pray for Seth and his team as they pursue Jesus themselves and point our students to the greatest human being that's ever lived. And yeah, so let's be in prayer about that. All right, guys. Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
All right. Hey guys, Josh Schweitzer, Director of Discipleship here. You will be seeing more interviews like that going forward. I just think it's really powerful to hear from the different staff members who have been called to do what they've been called to do. And I wanted to kind of give you guys maybe a peek behind the veil of what it looks like to run a ministry, and some of the hurdles that we face and some of the joys that we have in doing what we do. I know so many of you volunteer in these different places and so forth, but not all of us can be in all the same ministries. And so I just wanted to highlight what Seth has going on in youth ministry, and it's where I came from and where I spent many of my years loving on students and really developing what it looks like to become a young adult eventually in Christ. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and look forward to more, because there are plenty of other staff members who I'd love to highlight. Now, I have brought up the Agape changes. They have already gone forward. This last Sunday, Pastor John Fullerton gave his really conversation about his trip to Pakistan. You can see that online in our YouTube channel. And then going forward for the next 4 weeks, Dr. Paul Sewich will have a 4-part series on the resurrection. So you don't want to miss that. He always does a fantastic job. And we're going to have more speakers going forward. Even myself will get in there for a few weeks, talking about different subjects and deep dives into different themes and so forth. So you look forward to that. I just want to highlight the Men's Weekend Summit. That is coming up at the end of April. It's the last weekend of April. It is a bit of a drive, but I just want to quickly say this about men's ministry. Over the years, men's ministries have dried up, primarily because men, such as myself, have often idolized our jobs and our careers. We put those before God. We've often seen these trips as maybe just kind of a fun weekend, as opposed to a weekend where I'm learning to prioritize Jesus Christ first and foremost, learning to be challenged as a man in my walk of Christ. And so I chose a particular place. It's a camp called Real Life that has amazing student ministries there, but also puts on a men's ministry camp. It's one of the few that is left. And the one thing I know about them is they genuinely love the Lord and genuinely want to see people gain that intimacy with Christ, and for men be challenged in what it means to put Jesus first above my career and above the other idols that I've accumulated in my life. And we all have. I have myself. And so this is a bit of a challenge to say to the men of the church, quite frankly, unless it's the Lord himself, I would put this on the top of my priority list above all else. Not because of the particular camp we're picking or anything like that, but because Jesus deserves the glory of coming first. And I recognize that for some, this is a challenge. This is something new. That if you thought just clocking in hours on a Sunday morning was what following Jesus was, my friend, we couldn't be further from the wrong, and Jesus deserves the most. And so for the ladies, if you have a husband who has been thinking about it or teetering on this, I ask you to think about it in this way. If you want a better husband or a better father or a better follower of Christ in your husband and your spouse, then this is something they should really prioritize. Again, there are ton of fun things that are going to happen. I mean, eating steak, shooting guns. You can even get your CCW there, which is crazy, but awesome. Shooting bow and arrows, fishing, you name it. They have kind of everything there. But it's bigger than that. It is about me as a man submitting myself before God and saying, you and your decisions and your kingdom, God, comes first, not mine. And so if my job doesn't match that, job's got to get out of the way. If the way I'm living my lifestyle butts up against what your word says, Lord, I got to get that out of my life. I got to remove that idol. You have to come first. And I think a lot of us as men need that reminder. And this is a awesome weekend where you get to connect to God and prioritize Him first. So I challenge you, men, I want to see you there. Something I wanted to add to my monthly update is maybe some of the books I'm reading or tools in discipleship that I think would be helpful for you in your journey with Christ. So I'm going to kind of highlight 3 of them this month. The first is I'm reading a book by Dr. Larry Crabb. He's a counselor who really has been doing Christian counseling and therapy for many, many years, and he transitioned really from that to being a speaker when it comes to the faith. And he has some amazing books that have really benefited me over the years, but the one I'm reading in particular is called Connections. And this is what it means, really this book is about what it means to be connected as human beings in Christ, and how if we did a better job at connecting with one another, especially within the church, we really wouldn't have a need for so many counselors. Now, he's not trying to say we got to get rid of every psychologist out there, but he's saying that the deep longing of human beings is to be known, to be heard, and to be vulnerable with one another. And quite frankly, how hard that is to pull off in a church, our church included. I think there are a great many of us that want to talk about fellowship and what it means to have fun, and those are important. But when it's talking about deep vulnerability and connections where you could really reveal some of the harder, even darker sides of things that you're dealing with in a group, and that they don't run away or mock you or talk behind your back, but instead pray with you and journey with you through that, that is far more rare than maybe some of us think it is. In fact, in some churches, it just doesn't even exist at all. And so we at FPC have decided to plant our flag in what it means to pursue discipleship, which means we're trying to aim for this deep connection. And so Dr. Larry Crabb, I'm basing a lot of our facilitator training and follow-up with our grow groups with his book. I think it's very, very helpful. The second book I wanted to talk about is really what's called The Harmony of the Gospels. There are many versions of this you can find online or through Amazon, but I found this one to be the best just because of the page layout itself. It was spacious. You could always see where one gospel started and the other stopped, and where they kind of had a universal message between all of them. It's a wonderful way to track Jesus's journey. I think sometimes when we're reading the Bible, it is really hard to know, like, oh, did that happen before this other time happen, or is he heading to the cross yet, or has that not? The Harmony Gospel puts all of the Gospels together in a easy to read way that I don't think some of even the chosen version of it did as well. I think it was the best, to me, layout. So if you're looking for something that has all of the Gospels put together, I would highly recommend this one. The third thing I wanted to highlight was just how many different versions of the Bible there are out there. There's a lot. And I think our official, if you will, Bible here, or usually in most Calvinistic circles, seems to be the ESV, which is a really fantastic version of the Bible. I know the NLT is a more readable version that's floating around FPC, but there are a lot more out there. In fact, I would argue there are a lot better ones than even the ESV. I know. Am I allowed to say that out loud? I just wanted you to know that in my office, I have many variations of the Bible, and that's intentional for your benefit. If you're looking for a different type of Bible, or looking for something a little bit more readable and less thought for thought, or less word for word translation, I have many of those different versions. Come find me, shoot me an email. You can look through them and even test out a few of them. I did that on purpose. I tend to like to, highlight my Bible up and then start with something fresh that has a different feel to it. And I'm not talking about, there are some Bibles, for instance, called like the Passion Bible, that quite frankly is just heretical. Literally the guy who wrote it said that an angel told him how to write it differently, which wouldn't be a good angel, I'll put it that way. So there are some Bibles to just altogether avoid. But other than that, when I'm asked all the time, like, hey, what's the best Bible? At the end of the day, it's the Bible that you're going to read. But there are fantastic ones out there that I don't think most people are even aware of, like the MEV or the NRSV, that read really well. And so you might ask yourself, Josh, why is it important to read different versions? I have my KJV or my ESV, and I just stick to that. Well, I don't know if you know this, but no English language really nails the Hebrew or Aramaic or Greek language very well, okay? So when you read different versions, you're often going to get different translations that highlight passages, quite frankly, just better. You could read 4 different translations and still be discovering new things, because that's how nuanced these languages are, and you're not going to really see that in the English language. So I would say merely just to change up the way you read the Bible and make it feel fresh is a great way to choose a new translation or new version. So if you're curious about that, if you have questions about that, come find me, shoot me an email, and I'd be more than happy to share with you kind of my favorite versions or ones that might be better for what you're looking for.